So I know I said in a previous video that the cat dancer was my cat's favorite toy, but I think actually it's the Wiggle or Wriggle wand. I got it off Etsy, and the cats, they go crazy for it. Hello, and welcome to or back to my channel. I'm Kit, and here we talk about harmful beliefs and ideas promoted by certain influencers, content creators, and so on. And today, we're going to have a look at Brett Cooper and conservative dishonesty. Before we get into it, I would like to note that I don't know Brett, and these are my thoughts and opinions on the content she puts out for public consumption. That being said, thank you for clicking on this video, and I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons. Links to my socials and Patreon are below, along with sources and resources. And now, on to the reason we're all here. Brett Cooper is a commentator employed by the Daily Wire. I've done a few commentary videos on her channel before, but in this one, I want to highlight her contribution to conservative dishonesty. Last year, I posted Sydney Watson and Conservative Dishonesty, where Sydney somehow twisted a The Cut video into how society is forcing straight men to be gay. And a few weeks ago, I posted Ben Shapiro and Conservative Dishonesty, where Ben somehow twisted retirement into something the government forces people to do. And now, well, in March, Brett posted a video titled Gen Z is sleeping around more than ever, and the thumbnail is a picture of Brett with a graph highlighting the numbers 5 and 20 and the arrow continuing upward. I think this might be considered clickbait, but let's listen. Brett opens by talking about how body count, meaning the number of people you slept with, has become an important question in the modern dating landscape, and to those who are currently dating, has it? I have never asked, nor have I ever been asked, about my body count, and I strongly suspect it's just an online talking point. Back to Brett, she says, for years, people, specifically feminists, have tried to dismiss that question because it brings so much shame or just shows that the man is insecure. But per Brett, it's an important question because a person's past behaviors tell us a lot about who they are. And sure, if someone has had an addiction or gone to jail or has a history of cheating, I would like to know. But how many people someone has slept with doesn't tell you anything except that they've had sex with however many people. But you might be asking yourself, why is Brett talking about this?
So I started thinking about this episode and this topic more after seeing a wild article from the New York Post. Per usual, get the best content from them because it's certifiably insane all the time.
That is why conservatives are always on about articles in the New York Post, the Daily Mail, I think I'm forgetting one, and TikTok. Conservatives love TikTok, and I think this is why. They don't care about engaging in reality. They want to cherry pick the most outrageous thing they can find and act as though it's something widespread in society. Though I have to admit, Brett's find is rather tame. The certifiably insane article is a woman saying she's found a way to keep her body count low by sleeping with people she's slept with before. Except toxic people. She learned that the hard way and never again. But Brett's problem with the article is that the right answer to keep your body count low is, obviously, to be in a monogamous relationship. Now, if that's what you want, that's great, but if you want to have sex and not be in a relationship, that's also valid. Though I have to admit, I do find this article a bit strange. Who is this person that simultaneously cares about their body count, but also doesn't want to get into a relationship? Anyway, I'm sure we can all guess that Brett disapproves.
Going back to the point, you do realize that this doesn't make it better at all. People look at body counts and take those into consideration because they are indicative of many things, primarily somebody's self-respect, the value they place on committed relationships, how they treat people that they might be dating.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but having sex doesn't mean you mistreat people or that you never want a committed relationship or that you're incapable of monogamy or, well, anything. How you treat people is how you treat people. If someone isn't a great person, how many sexual partners they have isn't going to change that. If someone is a great person, how many sexual partners they have isn't going to change that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but sex isn't some magical, life-changing experience. Time changes people. Experiences change people. But sex in itself doesn't change people. I feel like I just said this, but there is not something mystical about a penis that will change a woman's chemistry and thereby leave her unable to bond with a more appropriate man at a later date should she screw up and have sex with the wrong man beforehand. Though, I guess we're going to get into that as Brett brings up Billy Ray Brandt.
Billy Ray Brandt, who starred in Lady Ballers for Daily Wire, she summed this up perfectly in one of her TikToks and importantly described how this is a two-way street. It's not just about women's body counts, it is also about men's. But watch this.
What's up, my guys? Your body count definitely matters. The typical narrative around this is is that it's particularly impactful for women because it interferes with their ability to pair bond. Look, I think body count matters more for women simply because we're the ones that control access to sex. But I'm not ready to say it doesn't impact a man's pair bonding ability as well. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone that we all share. It's a huge part of our reward system, and it's secreted in massive amounts during sex. Well, if you produce a bonding hormone in large quantities time and time again, but it never results in an actual bond, your body's reward system is going to get extremely screwed up, whether you're male or female.
It's literally biology. I see comments and articles from people saying, oh, this is so puritanical. I don't want the religious right pushing this on me. It's not like you don't even need to think about that. I don't need you to share my values to understand the fact that this is not healthy. It's not good for you, no matter which way you spin it. It's not good for you right now. It's not good for your future relationships, the way that you'll treat your future spouse. It is not healthy.
Billy goes on to say that if your dopamine system can get messed up, she imagines the same can be true for oxytocin, which very scientific. Now, humans can and do pair bond, but though we are mammals, we have some differences. For one, we can think. No offense to prairie voles, I'm sure they're lovely, but trying to compare humans to them is, well, it's really weird actually. But also, humans do a lot of things other animals don't, like have sex for purposes other than procreation. It looks to me like pair bonding for humans is more of a choice that's actively made instead of a,
oops, this person triggered my oxytocin, so now I'm stuck with them.
But conservatives, and red pillars, strangely enough, like this idea that having sex, for women anyway, creates some sort of unbreakable bond, so you better not risk it, otherwise you'll be damaged forever and unable to love. I'm also a bit curious about this idea that if you keep having sex without a monogamous relationship forming afterward, even if that's not what you're after, your body will, I don't even know, become resistant to hormones. But if you keep having sex with the same person, even if they treat you horribly, you'll be just fine. I think they're massively oversimplifying humans in their quest to get people to have sex only within marriage. But anyway, Brett goes into her ad read and then onto Twitter and there's no sources for the claims she reads from Twitter. I know she gets paid to make this stuff a big deal, but social media posts are not indicative of reality, and we would all do well to remember that. And look at that, a friend of the channel made it into Brett's video.
A woman named Allie D posted this on X a couple of days ago as well and said, for anyone who is out of touch with modern dating, 20 is considered a low number of men for a woman to have slept with. Hope that helps. And I mean, guys, I saw this and I was stunned.
I'm stunned too. Why is Brett being so credulous? This is just someone's opinion. Why is it being treated as gospel truth? Brett does go on to say that, per usual, the data is foggy and you can manipulate it many different ways, and it's hard to trust self-reports. She pulls up a 2018 study from Nectar Sleep where men reported an average of 26 sexual partners and women 19. Per Brett, if that is anywhere near accurate, we live in a sad, sad landscape. But she's not fully convinced that's the norm because looking at CDC, the numbers have stayed relatively the same since 2015 and only shows a 1/10 of a point increase. But back to the point of the episode where Brett was shocked by the idea of Gen Z having more sex than ever, she says this.
Because Gen Z has already expressed a major disinterest in casual sex over the past couple of years. Here's just a couple of articles. Frustrated with hookup culture, Gen Z women are swearing off sex, entering their celibacy era. Another article, this one's from Newsweek, said, what is driving Gen Z's aversion to sex? That one was in 2021 on my birthday. How fun. Swearing off men and avoiding intimacy, Gen Z reconsiders sex in the wake of a post-Roe world.
None of this makes sense, but we'll get to that in a moment.
I do still have hope. I hope that people become empowered in the respect that they have for themselves and their bodies, the people they're dating, and their future spouses more than anything. I hope we stop using each other, both men and women, for selfish pleasure and validation and attention, and that we stop making things so damn complicated, like the woman in that New York Post article, because that is truly absurd. You are spinning yourself in circles to try to feel better about your choices. Just stop. It is quite literally unnecessary.
I do agree that it's unnecessary to justify your choices to strangers, though that's probably not what Brett meant. But let's look at this video. The premise is that Gen Z is sleeping around more than ever, and her proof of this is an article from the New York Post. I would like to note that the author of that article is 38, not part of Gen Z. And there have been studies and articles about how Gen Z is actually having less sex than previous generations for a few years now. It's not a surprise that Brett, being part of the Daily Wire, wouldn't be a fan of casual sex. And though I think it should be otherwise, it's also not a surprise that she would stretch the truth to make this video. It's not enough that Gen Z is having less sex. Everyone needs to only be having sex within marriage. Marriage involving one man and one woman, of course. And until that happens, we need to bemoan how society is going to hell in a handbasket. But what is well, not really surprising, but immensely disappointing is all the comments on this video. Did no one really have a wait what moment? Did no one realize that this video didn't come to the conclusion that the title said it did? Instead, they're all shaming people who have sex and patting themselves on the back for doing it right. Which I guess is a sign that Brett is doing what she was hired for. She's there to reassure young folks that conservative values are right, and look, there's an attractive woman of similar age saying so. I didn't expect anything better. This is Daily Wire after all, but I'm still disappointed. And I want to end my video with this. Sex is an incredibly personal thing, and how you choose to go about it is your business. And whatever you choose, people who try to shame you don't have your best interests in mind. Just make sure you understand what you're doing and the why for it, and be honest with your partners. And really, that goes for everything we do in life. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.